So there's always quite a lot of contention about when you tie in with a figure of 8. Do you go down through the top of your harness first, or do you go up from the bottom? The harness is designed to be tied in around both sections, not one section. So what's important is actually that we get both. I'm never that stressed about which way people do it. However, I'm going to give you a few top tips for the going down method. I'm going to tie my figure of 8. First thing with going down, I can push all my clothes out of the way and see where it's going. So that's a definite plus with the down. Also, I'm going with gravity, so it makes life easier. If I drop it or fumble, it stays there. It doesn't fall out the bottom of the harness. But the really cool thing is when I pull now, the figure of 8 sits there on a little shelf. I'm hands-free, ready for me to tie it. The figure of 8 is at the top of the harness while I'm doing all of this. It's closer to my eyes. It's easier for me to do rather than being down here. The bonus for this is it makes it far more likely that people are going to end up with this loop being nice and small and compact. Whereas when you go in from the bottom, because the figure of 8's down here, you end up with a much longer loop, which in certain circumstances can be dangerous. Right, we're now going to talk about what I've done here. So why do we actually put a stopper knot in? If you were to go abroad, people don't tend to bother. But what they will ensure is that the tail is long enough so that it doesn't matter how much you push and pull the figure of 8, as long as you've dressed it well, you can see that the knot isn't open and closing. There's no way the tail could feed through. If I don't dress the knot, if I have it a bit loose, I haven't pulled it tight, there's air down here, I can get my fingers into bits. Watch what now happens when I move it. It sort of breathes, it goes in and out. And perhaps you could see that if that tail was quite short and the knot kept doing that over time, the length of the root, potentially that would pull out. So, when we tie our figure of 8, it's really important that we do dress it nice and snug. Pull each individual strand, no gaps. And now the need for a stopper knot is reduced. What I teach is just putting an overhand knot in, like this. If I can't get the overhand knot in, it means that the tail actually isn't long enough and I want to retie it. But if there's just enough to get that overhand knot in, that's great. And there's no way now that that could work its way back down through the figure of 8. So why this over the convention? Well, the problem with this is people don't tie it very well. And what you'll get quite often is something like that. Now this poses a big hazard, and there's been some really nasty accidents where people have clipped into this and leant back, and then that's managed to unthread itself. You'll see them tied even further down here. This becomes a problem then when you're leading. So when you're going to tie half a double fisherman's, you need to make sure that it's very close to the figure of 8. There is no gap to eliminate the likelihood of you trying to catch in to that point there. The beauty with this is that hazard is removed completely, and yet it's still providing the same function as the stopper knot here.